Keith Emis, Republican consultant, Will Watson, Democratic consultant. Let's talk about some of the races in Washington and Benton County for the House. Let's start with the Fayetteville race between Charlie Collins and Candy Clark.
All right. Well, Charlie Collins is running for his third term in the State House of Representatives. He ran a very competitive race in 2010 against an incumbent who he beat. He ran another, I guess, technically competitive race in 2012 because the Democrats contested it so hard, but he won by almost 10% of the vote. He's in a similar position this year to 2 years ago, except for having probably a slightly better political climate. I work for him, my firm does, so we deal with Charlie all the time. Up here in Northwest Arkansas, if you listen to the radio at all, I'm sure you've heard his commercials. If you watch cable television, I'm sure you've seen his commercials. If you have a mailbox, I'm sure you've gotten mail from him if you live in the district. Charlie's run a good race. He's very well known. He's pretty well liked, and I expect him to get reelected.
I think that the race for District 84 is one of the more competitive in the state. I think that Keith is right. There's certainly an advantage to being an incumbent. The district does have a record of turning out incumbents, like Keith mentioned. Jim House was running for a third term in 2010 when he was beat, so never say never on that end. But I think that Charlie Collins is a unique Republican and that he is pretty well known and pretty well liked in the district. I think it's going to come down to which party has the best get out the vote operation. I certainly know the Democrats have targeted the district and are turning out a lot of voters. When I took a look at the numbers yesterday, partisan numbers for Republicans and Democrats were within about 50 votes. So I think it's going to come down and be a pretty close election, certainly within 5 points or so.
Are there any issues in that race? 119, Ordinance 119, guns on the college campus. What are those issues, or are there other issues in that race that voters are looking at to divide the candidates?
Charlie has pretty much just stuck to his record and what he's done in Little Rock. You know, he worked with the governor to increase spending on education. He worked with the governor to pass the private option to expand health care insurance and lower premiums. He worked with the Republican majority in both chambers to cut income taxes, cut capital gains taxes, cut used car taxes. He's done a lot. I think you'll see he consistently says, I'll work across the aisle when it's the right thing to do, and I'll work with the Republicans when that's the right thing to do. And that's pretty much how he's run his race, and I can't see that changing.
I think that this is a good race where both of the candidates are stacking their records against one another. Candy Clark, similar situation, worked on the quorum boards, worked across the aisle to balance budget. I think one of the biggest differences, certainly in terms of policy, is that Representative Collins is on record with the gun policy that has been essentially unanimously rejected across the state. Most people don't want more guns in the classroom. I think that a place where Candy Clark has a big difference between herself and Charlie Collins is that she is a business owner. She understands what it's like to sign both sides of a check. She knows what it's like to hire people. And I think that voters in Fayetteville and Greenland are interested in somebody with that kind of real-life experience.
Charlie's also a business owner and has that experience, and he's worked for Fortune 50 companies, and he's a small business owner himself. So I don't know that that's something where there'd be a great distinction.
Open seat in Rogers, Grimsley Graham, the Democrat, Rebecca Petty, the Republican. How's that race shaping up?
I think what you see here is overreach by the Democratic Party. There is not a single elected official in the entirety of Benton County that is a Democrat, and there's a reason for that. The people of Benton County aren't Democrats. There are a few there, but they're a distinct minority. And Grimsley Graham fancies himself to be an independent on all of his mail pieces, but when you look at what he says on his Facebook page over the last few years, he is hardly an independent. He has an extremist record on supporting issues from Obamacare to greater gun control to environmental regulations that would greatly increase the cost of utilities. So I don't particularly see him as a viable candidate. I don't think that race is going to be terribly close.
I think that what Keith sees as overreach probably speaks to the strength of the Democratic Party this year. I think that it's a historic year for Democrats in Benton County. They've gone from contesting essentially no elections to contesting 3 state house races in Benton County. I think that Grimsley Graham is a fantastic candidate. He's a retired educator, taught in Rogers Public Schools for more than 20 years. He's a retired Marine veteran. I mean, he's the ideal candidate to be running to represent a pretty moderate district in Benton County. We're talking about a downtown urban core that, given the opportunity, I don't know how close the election's going to be, but I certainly think that Grimsley Graham has a chance to win.
Last race let's talk about up in Bentonville, an incumbent, Jim Dotson, is running against a challenger, Leah Williams. How's that one shaping up?
Again, the same dynamic. Jim Dotson is an incumbent state representative in Benton County. He served his district well. He voted the way that people would like. He has all the endorsements from the National Rifle Association to NFIB to Arkansas Right to Life. You look at what the people of Benton County believe, and you look at Jim Dotson's voting record, and they line up perfectly. Leah Williams is a doctrinaire Democrat. She is for Obamacare and the further expansion of that. She is for tax increases. She wouldn't take a position on almost most social issues aside from that. She doesn't fit the district. She seems like a very nice lady, but she's not going to win.
I think that District 93 is a really interesting district because, again, it represents a downtown part of Bentonville that's changed a lot over the last 20 years. I think that Leah is a fantastic candidate. She's got a family. She knows what it's like to, to try to pay bills and go to work and figure those kinds of things out. What I will say about Jim Dotson is that if he's truly representative of Bentonville, business people in Bentonville probably wouldn't have gone out and tried to find a primary opponent for him, who is then supported by the largest businesses and business people in Benton County. I think that the fact that Leah has received support from a lot of those same people, from the Waltons, from David Glass, from former Republican Congressman John Paul Hammerschmidt, speaks to her middle-of-the-road approach to governing.
With Keith Emis, Republican consultant, and Will Watson, Democratic consultant. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.